My name is Emily Carter, and once upon a time, I believed love could survive anything. I believed love was stronger than poverty, stronger than distance, stronger than ambition. But I was wrong. I met Lucas Bennett when I was 22 years old. At that time, we were both struggling to build our lives in the busy city of Chicago. Lucas was an ambitious young man with big dreams. He worked at a small tech startup as a junior developer, earning barely enough to pay his rent. I worked at a small coffee shop near downtown. Every morning, Lucas would come in before work and order the same thing, a black coffee, no sugar. The first time I saw him, he looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, messy hair, wrinkled shirt, but his smile was warm, very warm. One morning, while I was handing him his coffee, he said something that made me laugh. You know, this coffee might be the only reason I survive my job. I smiled. Then I guess I'm saving lives every day. From that day on, he started sitting at the small table near the window, and every morning we talked about life, about dreams, about the future. Lucas always talked about one thing: success. I want to build something big one day, he told me once. Something that changes the world. I looked at him and said softly, "Then I believe you will," because I really did believe him. 3 months later, Lucas asked me out on our first date. We didn't go to a fancy restaurant. We walked along the lake with 2 cheap burgers and a bottle of soda. But it was perfect. That night, under the soft city lights, Lucas held my hand and said, "Emily, I don't have much right now, but I promise I'll give you the best life one day." I squeezed his hand and smiled. I don't need a perfect life, Lucas. I just need you. At that time, we both believed that was enough, and for a while, it was. Lucas and I moved into a tiny apartment 1 year later. Calling it tiny was actually being generous. The kitchen was barely big enough for one person. The bathroom door didn't close properly. And every winter, the heater made strange noises like it might explode. But it was our home. We bought secondhand furniture. Our couch came from a thrift store. Our table was a wooden box turned upside down. But we laughed about everything. Sometimes, when money was tight, we cooked instant noodles for dinner 3 nights in a row. Lucas would joke, "One day, when I'm rich, we'll eat steak every night." I would laugh, "I'd rather eat noodles with you than steak alone." Lucas worked harder than anyone I had ever seen. He spent nights coding on his old laptop. Sometimes he stayed awake until 3 in the morning. I would wake up and see the light from the screen still glowing. "Lucas, come to bed." "Just 5 more minutes," he would say. Those 5 minutes always became 2 hours. But I understood. He had dreams, and I wanted to support them. 3 years passed like this. Hard, but full of love. Then one night, Lucas came home with excitement shining in his eyes. "Emily, I have news." "What happened?" "My friend and I are starting a company, a tech startup." My heart jumped. "That's amazing." Lucas grabbed my hands. "But it's risky. I'll probably quit my job, and we might struggle for a while." I looked at him. Then I smiled. "Lucas, we've always struggled. What's a little more?" That night, we celebrated with cheap pizza and beer. We didn't know that decision would change everything, not just our future, but also our love. The first year of Lucas's company was brutal. There were days when we barely had money for groceries. Lucas sold his car, we canceled internet at home and used free Wi-Fi at cafes. Sometimes Lucas slept in the office because he worked too late. But slowly, things started changing. One investor, then another, then another. Suddenly, Lucas was busier than ever. He traveled for meetings, he attended conferences, he met powerful people, and little by little, the world around him began to change. But I didn't notice the biggest change, Lucas himself. One evening, Lucas came home wearing a suit I had never seen before. "Wow," I said, "you look different." He smiled proudly. "It's from a business meeting. It's important to look professional now." I nodded, but something felt unfamiliar. Lucas started buying expensive things, a new car, luxury watches, designer clothes. We moved from our small apartment to a modern condo in downtown Chicago. It had floor-to-ceiling windows and marble floors. It was beautiful, but somehow it didn't feel like home. Lucas also changed the way he talked. Before, we talked about dreams. Now he talked about money, investments, connections, status. One night, while we were having dinner, I asked, "Lucas, do you remember when we ate noodles for dinner every night?" He laughed. "God, I can't believe we lived like that." I smiled softly. "I kind of miss those days." Lucas looked at me strangely. "Why would you miss being poor?" I didn't answer, because what I missed wasn't poverty, it was us. Lucas became busier and busier. Some nights he didn't come home at all. Other nights he arrived late and went straight to bed. Our conversations became shorter, colder. One night I asked him, "Lucas, when was the last time we spent time together?" He looked confused. "We live together, Emily." "That's not what I mean." He sighed. "I'm building a company. This is important." "I know," I said quietly, "but what about us?" Lucas rubbed his forehead. "Emily, you don't understand how this world works." That sentence hurt more than anything, because it sounded like he believed I didn't belong in his world anymore. Then came the night everything changed. Lucas invited me to a huge business party. It was in a luxury hotel ballroom. Everyone there wore expensive clothes. They talked about investments worth millions. I felt out of place. Lucas introduced me to people quickly. "This is Emily." That was it. Just Emily. Not my girlfriend, not my partner, just Emily. Later that night, I saw Lucas laughing with a beautiful woman in a red dress. Her name was Victoria Langston. She was the daughter of a powerful investor. She looked confident, elegant, perfect for Lucas's new world. When Lucas came back to me, I asked softly, "Who is she?" "Just someone from work." But the way he avoided my eyes told me something else. A few weeks later, Lucas sat me down in the living room. His face looked serious, too serious. "Emily, we need to talk." My stomach tightened. "About what?" Lucas took a deep breath. "I think we want different things now." My heart started beating faster. "What do you mean?" He looked away. "My life is changing. My responsibilities are bigger now, and I need someone who understands this world." The room suddenly felt cold. "I've been with you since before this world existed," I whispered. Lucas stayed silent. Then he said the words that shattered my heart. "Emily, I think we should break up." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. "All these years?" I said slowly. "You're leaving me now?" Lucas didn't answer. I looked at him with tears in my eyes. "Is it because you're rich now?" Still silence. And that silence told me everything. I stood up. My hands were shaking. "Lucas, when you had nothing, I stayed. When you had dreams, I believed in you. When you struggled, I supported you." My voice broke. "And now that you have everything, you're leaving me?" Lucas finally spoke. "It's not that simple." But to me, it was. That night, I packed my things. Not many. Just clothes, books, memories. Lucas watched silently. Before leaving, I looked at him one last time. You know what hurts the most? He didn't answer. You didn't leave me when life was hard. You left when life became easy. Then I walked out. And that was the last time I saw Lucas Bennett for 2 years. 2 years changed everything, including me. I moved to another city. I started a small online business selling handmade jewelry. At first, it was slow, but gradually, people started buying. Then, influencers started wearing my designs. Then, magazines featured them. My brand, Silverbloom, grew faster than I expected. I worked hard, very hard, and slowly, I built a life on my own. One afternoon, while I was preparing a shipment, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A familiar voice spoke. Emily, it's Lucas. My heart froze. I hadn't heard that voice in 2 years. Why are you calling? There was a pause. I'd like to see you. I thought about hanging up, but curiosity stopped me. Why? Lucas sighed. Because I made a mistake. We met at a quiet cafe. When Lucas walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, tired. His confident aura was gone. He sat across from me. Emily, you look different. I am different. Lucas nodded slowly. I heard about your company. You're successful now. I smiled slightly. Funny how life works. Lucas looked down. Emily, Victoria left me. I wasn't surprised. She was with me for the money. Once the company had problems, she disappeared. I stayed silent. Lucas looked into my eyes. I realized something. What? You were the only person who loved me before I had anything. His voice trembled. I miss you. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said softly, I loved the man you used to be. Lucas leaned forward. Maybe we can try again. I looked at him, the man who once broke my heart, and I realized something important. I wasn't the same woman anymore. I smiled gently. Lucas, I forgave you a long time ago. Hope appeared in his eyes. But then I said, but forgiveness doesn't mean going back. The hope faded. You taught me something very important. What? That the people who stay during your hardest moments are the ones who truly belong in your life. I stood up. Take care, Lucas. And this time, I walked away without looking back. Love is powerful, but love without respect cannot survive. Lucas taught me how painful betrayal can be, but he also taught me something else. Sometimes, the person who breaks your heart also pushes you to become the strongest version of yourself. And for that lesson, I will always be grateful.